name is Architect Kritika Juneja, Associate Editor of Ace Update magazine, and I welcome you all to the online interaction on my signature project. In awe of celebrating design, we invite architects to present their best projects from various verticals and typologies of buildings such as urban design, landscape, residential, hospitality, public utilities, high-rise, and commercial. In architecture, design, and infra space, too many projects were stalled or delayed. Many felt the future was grim. However, numerous architects and designers overcame all the odds to deliver projects on time. At Ace Update, we salute the underrated spirit of these professionals who, despite the odds, delivered their projects in one of the most uncertain times. On this note, Ace Update will conduct an online interaction on my signature project. The distinguished speakers for today's interaction on my signature projects are Mr. Kalpak Bhave, Consulting in Landscape Architect Abu, Vastulinear Consultant Pvt Ltd, Ms. Mriti Raheja, DesignX, Mr. Divyakant Mistry from Divyakant Mistry and Associates, Ms. Aashita Chadha from the KariGhars, and Mr. Ravi Pathak from Divyakant. To sculpt a beautiful landscape, what type of space should be available with us?
Good afternoon and good evening, everyone. It was a great opportunity to connect all of you. The question, I think, has a diversified answer. Any space can be converted into an awesome outdoor experience, So we always see to it that if the space is difficult, we find it more challenging to design that, So I would not say that any space which is ideal for designing. Definitely, any space which is without any hurdle, without any obstructions, and without any limitation from the client's end, will always be a beautiful space to design.
So my next question to you is, does ideally suit only individual properties with ample space? How can we take it up for the vertical buildings, high-rise structures?
Where the space is available, obviously you can do an awesome and a beautiful landscape there. But when you are in urban areas where the space is a constraint, so you need to think about developing each part of the building as a possibility of landscape. Like you can introduce green walls wherever you have some balconies and projections. You can convert them into a good greeneries. So like that, if you have a terrace, maybe 100 square feet of terrace also, it would be worth to design that and use it, because you already have spent quite good amount of chunk of money to buy that. So if you don't develop it, then you are losing on your money. So the wise decision would be to appoint a landscape architect and make as green as possible, and that in a way in helping in a global warming also. So it is not going to limit to yourself, but it is going to affect everyone on the earth. So I think it's a wise decision to develop and use it.
Right, everyone loves some greenery in the living space. Wonderful. My question to you is, how do you take both aesthetics and functionality along while designing?
So, from a client's perspective, the making it aesthetically pleasing is the most important thing, because they are so used to looking at the Pinterest images on Google, Instagram, all of that. So that is very, very important for the client, how it personally looks. But we being designers, I think, and of course, we have also been in this industry for so long. We also understand what functionality means, right? So, for example, I can really buy a shoe which looks very, very beautiful, but if I am not able to wear it for a long time, it's not able to really solve its function, and my feet start hurting, then however beautiful it looks, I will not be able to take it out into the world and use it. So, we try to explain this to the client when we are designing, and we just try to marry them together in such a way that the client feels that whatever aesthetic they are looking for is also met, and we make sure that it also serves the functionality. So it's a very thin line, but that is where our creativity comes in, as how we actually can marry functionality and design and aesthetics together.
Would you like to add something to this, Smriti?
So for me also, I think what you said is quite similar. Beauty is not skin deep. That's the beauty that you talk about being, in a derogatory or in a different kind of connotation. The beauty that is real, like in humans, in projects also, that beauty has to come from within. So the functionality, the core, the soul of the project, the idea behind it, the concept, why it is made the way it is made, is all, a contributor to the beauty of the project. So if it's aesthetically pleasing, and it also has to be functional, has to be, give you a good feeling, has to be a sensory progression of everything. So one has to feel comfortable as well.
We have one more question for you, Aashita. Tolerances, shapes, materials, and sizes play a part in the details. In interior design, heavily relies on furniture. How do you see it in your?
See, of course, furniture plays a very, very important role because that is what the functionality aspect of it is, right? Like I need a wardrobe to keep my stuff away. I need a bed to be able to sleep on. I need a couch to be able to watch my favorite, whatever serials or Netflix, whatever on, right? But the thing is that how do we actually, I think interior styling is what kind of brings everything together. So of course, there are so many designers which have been working so many years to make this furniture look as plush, as unique, as modern, as contemporary as possible. But I feel that, it all just comes together with the right kind of interior styling. What is the color of the rug which I'm using? How am I placing that particular throw? How is the artifact? How is the lighting coming together? How is the whole color scheme coming together in the room? I think when it all just, the styling is beautiful, I think it all just comes together, and that is what just makes it very, very appealing to the eye. It doesn't even seem as if it is really placed there for functionality. It all comes together as if it's all part of one big art piece and then just fits into place. So, there are so many ways of doing stuff to make it so much appealing to the eye, and really we don't see furniture as furniture nowadays. We have wardrobes right now which we are building 10 feet tall wardrobes, we call them infinity wardrobes. So they don't really need to look like a wardrobe door. There can be so much more which we can do by sandwich glass, by using mirrors, by using the same kind of theme, fabric, all of that on that particular shutter. It can also merge with my backdrop of the bed and stuff like that. So really, I think interior design has evolved so much that furniture is actually a functionality, but now it also serves as an aesthetic purpose.
That is very inspiring perspective, Aashita. Thank you so much. Mr. Ravi, how do you look at it? What is your view on this?
Yes, actually, tolerance of material sizes need to be considered when designing a product. This is because they affect how well the product will perform its function and how it will work with other space in the system. So furniture, ma'am is right, furniture is an important component of interior design, and it can be used to provide comfort, aesthetic, and functionality. And it also defines the space and creates a sense of place.
Yeah, it is actually furniture is becoming an extension of our life itself. Yes. My next question is to Mr. Abu. Mr. Abu, technology and innovative ideas are a challenge when integrating into your work. How will be the role of an architect change to take advantage of these two aspects, especially when you deal with new technologies?
New technologies are very important. If we are planning something as an architect, it evolves. Starting from the day of Adam, when we realized that we need a cantilever, we need a space to enter a cave. From that day, the architecture has evolved, and till date, we are building a Burj Khalifa and high skyscrapers and long buildings, and right now we are seeing Saudi Arabia building a line, that design. Everything has evolved as per the technology. Technology has a very important role in building a lifestyle, our culture, everything. Whatever we are seeing, we are if you don't use AC, and we are still stick to the old cross ventilation and all, So Burj Khalifa also need the cross ventilation. So as per the technology has evolved, we have things have been changed, and now we have used technology in our construction, in our planning, in our architecture field. So yes, technology is being a very important part of the architecture.
And how does it complement? It's very interesting perspective, especially when you look at Vastulinear as a name. How does it complement with our beliefs and dogmas and culture, and as well as when you look at innovations?
Actually, Vastu is being like the planning part. It's related to the human behavior, human astro and all the things. But there is a misconception that if you build something built on Vastu Shastra, something which is situated on Vastu Shastra,
we will go to the like old part, but this is not correct. We can have the spaces, we can have the bedrooms, we can have toilets, we can have puja room, we can have everything mingle with the new technology, modern technology itself. I'll show you my presentation later that how we have evolved that modern days house in as per the Vastu Shastra.
We are curiously waiting for that actually. Thank you so much for sharing about, especially when technology impacts all areas of our life today. Ms. Smriti, how do you look at the impact of technology, and especially in designing as well as architecture as well?
So I think technology these days plays a huge part in terms of not just the aesthetic, in terms of how lighting is or the mood lighting is considered in a project, also in terms of daylight saving, in terms of air conditioning, like he mentioned, where you can have temperature control so you don't waste energy. We have to be very conscious of how energy is being used in interior design or in big projects, even in commercial projects, residential projects, and every aspect. And also what is really picking up these days is automation. People become lazier and lazier. Not sure if that is a good thing, because now there are voice commands, there are mood settings where you just say put the morning scene on, the curtains will open, the lights will get switched off, your favorite music will play, what you want to hear, perhaps a raga or two. So yeah, it's become an integral part of our lifestyle, as I may say.
Yeah. And also, when we mention about technology, another critical aspect comes as the conversation of sustainability.
Yes.
How do you see sustainable construction, getting adopted in Indian context? How do you define it, sustainability here in India?
So sustainability in terms of architecture is more predominant. In terms of interior design, not so much, I feel, these days, apart from the things that I mentioned where you can use technology to help save energy, because the materials that we are using are quite wasteful in my opinion, but we can try to use things that have lesser, carbon footprint. You can try to use insulated glasses so that the temperature losses are not there. You can try and use materials like, fabrics which are more natural, more local, and not try to import everything out of the country. Because these days, I think India has progressed to a level where we are exporting a lot of materials, a lot of luxury materials. So that is something one should be open to taking, because that mindset has to change from the client side as well. I mean, we can educate them, we can show them options, but there are companies who are doing very, very good, in-house productions and local manufacturing, and we try to promote them so that not everything is imported, and so sustainability comes in that kind of sense as well, not just in terms of using the materials. It doesn't have to be drastic. It just has to be a good design with good materials, good sense of aesthetic, yet it can be sustainable.
And it goes well with the surroundings. I completely get that, Ms. Smriti. Thank you. Yeah, Ms. Divyakant, would like to know your views on sustainability. Yeah.
Now, keeping in mind the sustainability, that is the core strength and the core sector that I always look into when we design the project, when I design the thing. Keeping in mind materials, there are few materials which are has been used from eras, and there are few materials which are the product of the technology. Sustainability, as Smriti also said, the carbon footprints. So I always think in that way that the material that use that are recyclable, or maybe there are least carbon footprints for that same thing. So that is very important in sustainability, and materials that can be recycled in terms of reusing the whole thing. That we always take into consideration when we design the thing.
Gaurav was asking, is there any net zero project done by anyone here? He also would like to know some tentative cost per square feet for EPC for a standalone house. So can someone address this?
Frankly, I believe that, sustainability in India in terms of interior design, I can only talk from interior design perspective, not from architecture, but sustainability in India in terms of interior design spaces, like Smriti already mentioned, that is a space which is very, very difficult for us to go to net zero. I think it's a long journey for us to be there in terms of the materials which we are using, in terms of, the availability. But then, so that is a very long way. But I think all of us here, each and every firm represented here, is kind of building on this idea of how can we actually start our journey there, or make smaller steps to go there. So it could be very small things like sourcing locally, to be able to use a lot of materials which are much more recyclable, to be used to create as less debris, wastage, etc. as possible. Like, for example, even the glue which we use for our wardrobes is actually certified, EU certified, and it does not emit any kind of so whenever we go into a newly made home, we have this very strong smell which we consider it as a new house smell, but we don't realize that there is a lot of emissions which are happening there. Okay, so even from the space of the kind of glue which we are using, to the paints, the coatings, etc., which we are using are all European certified in KariGhars. But that is a small step. I think reaching zero is something which we will eventually do. I'm hoping we are all there on the way, not done anything completely zero yet. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much, Aashita, for answering this question. And I'm sure that you all missed the interaction from Kritika due to poor network. She couldn't be part of the panel discussion and the further interaction. So hopefully in the coming edition we'll have a better interaction. We would like to continue, but due to the time constraints, it's a time to close our session. And I request Angel to take it forward.
We would have loved to continue with this dynamic interaction. However, we are running short on time. So thank you, panelists, for exchanging your valuable thoughts on today's topic, my signature project. We hope you have enjoyed it. Before wrapping up today's session, we would like to thank our distinguished panelists, Mr. Kalpak Bhave, Architect Abu Saleh, Ms. Smriti Raheja Sohne, Mr. Divyakant Mistry, Ms. Aashita Chadha, and Mr. Ravi Pathak. For viewers who have joined us today, we would like to have your feedback and encourage you to stay connected with us via our social handles. ACE Update is available on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also download our app from Google Play and App Store. We would also request our viewers to stay tuned for future interactions. With that, today's interaction has now come to a close. Thank you and goodbye.